What's going on, guys? It is Jason Marcus alongside Andrew Marcus here. We are back together for Thanksgiving, and we thought, what better way to celebrate the holidays than to talk about Sequester?
Yeah, it's what's kind of brought us together through these last 8 months. I live in Philly, he lives in Charlotte, and we talk Sequester and reality TV nonstop. And now that we're live in person, we're going to dive deep.
Yeah, luckily for us, we have a great season of Sequester, season 4 of Sequester Live coming up here. It is a great cast, some of the biggest names within the entire community. We got a lot to go through for you guys here. It's going to be a great season, Andrew. Before we talk into each individual cast members here, what has been the biggest standout from this cast? What are you most looking forward to in season 4 of Sequester?
So as an avid viewer of all these minis over the last few months, these people have not only brought the strategy every time they step to play this game, they've brought the emotion, passion, and personality. So to see them all clash, to see how their previous connections play a factor, if they do at all, will be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what stood out to me as well, too, is that you have a really healthy mix of, you look at this cast and overarching, you have your strategists in there, but you also have a lot of just like people there that you know are there to bring the personality, to make good TV. And I think that's what makes the best reality TV seasons of any franchise, is when you don't have an entire cast full of just one demographic. Like there's gamers, you have your personalities, you have people there that maybe don't have the more of a, and we'll get into it, but don't necessarily have the best shot to necessarily win, right. But you know they're there just to cause drama and stir the pot. So without further ado, now seems like a good time to get right into it.
Sounds good.
Let's talk about our first cast member, and that, of course, is Brent Walterman. Brent, probably one of, if not the most well-known member of this entire cast, simply just because of his affiliation with Rob as a podcast. Pretty much everyone, or for the most part, the majority of people who are in the Sequester community also have a tie there. They're familiar with Brent from there if they're not familiar with him from the Sequester gameplay. So kind of give me an overview about Brent's gameplay in past Sequester games and how you think that's going to translate to Sequester Live season.
Brent has been the biggest advocate for Sequester since the early seasons of Sequester Season 1, 2, and he continues to push for it. But he also continues to push for bringing the energy, bringing the backstabbing, and not being afraid to make that big play. If there's one person that's not here to fly under the radar, it's Brent. He's not here to win the show. He's here to make moves, make good TV, and if it gets him to the end, so be it. He's a big target. He can shield for a lot of people, which he does in his Sequester mini games. People take him as far as they can and then cut him when they need to. I think his biggest issue in Sequester mini games is his ability to make actual true connection with somebody. Everyone will say, I've got you, but I don't know if anyone really has him in their long-term final plans.
Yeah, and I think Brent is the person I'm most familiar with because of that Rob as a podcast connection. I've been listening and watching Rob as a podcast far longer than I've been involved in the Sequester community. So I knew Brent before everyone, and I love Brent. He's definitely one of those characters that he's there to bring the drama. He's there to steer the pot. I don't know how high of a chance he has to actually win the show, but regardless, he's going to be probably the most memorable character from coming out of here, I would think. But what do you think? So are people going to look at Brent as a threat in this game as far as someone you have to get out early because he's a podster, because he's going to cause chaos? Or do you think more people are going to look at him and go, hey, this guy's a big target. We need to keep him around?
I think they're going to keep him around as long as he's not getting so messy that it's ruining the people that really want to win this game's chances. He'll let the F-bombs fly. He's going to throw some lies out there, and he'll rat some people out for sure. If he feels like there's an hour of quietness in that house, you best believe he's going to bring that drama, find the camera, and find a way to stir the pot.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to watch Brent play. Chaotic is the best way to describe him. He's definitely going to bring the chaos this season to Sequester, and I look forward to seeing it all unfold for sure.
And then my final note on him being, it's probably more likely that he's pre-jury than not, but there's not, in my mind, I can't see him also being first boot either. You're going to enjoy a couple episodes of Brent. He'll give you the full impact of Brent, and then
I don't think production would let him be the first boot. There's a reason he's on this cast.
Yeah.
and he's gonna be there to serve us as much as he can.
Yeah.
And then once it gets down to the nitty gritty, and they go, "All right, you've had your fill." Let's move on to the next cast member here too, and so I think this next person rivals Brent in the chaos department, but this chaos is a little bit more organized, and I think this is Katie. Katie, I think Katie's biggest obstacle coming into this game is going to be her reputation because she is a phenomenal sequester player. I think you can put Katie in any of these social strategy games and she's gonna thrive. But I think her reputation is gonna be something that she needs to be able to work past because when you think of Katie, you think of a great player, but you think of someone who you can't trust, at least in my opinion. And so that's gonna be hard for her to navigate. What do you think Katie needs to do coming into this season to kind of diminish the target level?
So first of all, Katie's my 619 queen. We played together, and we didn't play together. She's the reason I didn't make it very far. But what Katie needs to do, in my opinion, is find that 619 Katie. Katie would bump into a room and say, "Hi, friends," and smile and be friendly with everyone, and not appear as the person that we saw on that trailer. If you haven't seen the trailer for the show, check it out on YouTube. But she's already saying, if you come after me, I'm coming back with a fucking vengeance. And as fun and TV that is, that attitude is not going to get her far. She needs to be everyone's friend and then still put the knife in the back like she did in her early Sequester games. That reputation that she's grown to be the villain, is kind of maybe playing with her mentally, where she feels like she has to. She feels like she has to be the villain, and I think the way to succeed in this show would be everyone's friend and not make these obvious villainous moves and play an under the radar villain game like she did in her one and only Sequester win.
I'm very much looking forward to Katie's confessions because that's going to be where the villain's going to come out, right? But I think, well, kind of what you were saying, where the way that she succeeds in this game is where she finds that balance between serving us in the diary room, the evil queen Katie, but then while she's in the house, how well is she able to hide the evil queen that she's trying to be? So I'm very much looking forward to seeing Katie play. I think while looking at an overview view of this cast, I think Katie is one of the most made for TV cast members on the entire show. There's a lot of big personalities, and we're going to get into them for sure. But I think when you look at overall, Katie is probably in my top two of saying, like, I would cast her on any show. I would put her on Survivor.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what they said right after she made her first ever appearance in Sequester, which she's made for TV. And she actually runs into this game as probably being one of the most heavily connected people, not only as a big person on the Podquester podcast, but playing with several of these players that she's in the house with. Will those connections matter at all? Will they be seen and then not really mean anything down the road? Katie can go out early, or Katie can take this off.
So you do think she's connected? Because that's kind of what I was looking at this cast was she's going to need allies to get far. But you're saying that you think that she's going to have no problem getting people to want her.
I'm saying she has allies, and we'll go into everyone deeper as we go. But she played with Spencer on 619. She's spent several times on Podquester with the Munas and the Jacobs, and she played a game with Brent. So like she has friends on this cast. Brendan is the brother of Alex Brizard, and Alex and Katie are super tight.
Yeah.
So she has friends. Now, are they friends outside the game that are willing to backstab her in the game? Possibly.
But in this game, though, it doesn't. At least initially, that small connection is all you need. You just need some sort of like, hey, I'm good friends with your brother. We should work together. And that's all you need is that small degree of connection. Whether or not that lasts off the entire game, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to seeing how Katie navigates the rest of this cast.
And then so as we move on to the next one, you'll see that everyone has a small connection.
Right.
So we'll find out.
So next we want to talk about the next cast member, and that is Marcelo. Marcelo, I would say, is probably one of the more reserved characters in the cast, where he's not a Brent, he's not a Katie, he's not going to be totally in your face. What are your thoughts on Marcelo as the end of this game?
I kind of disagree.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder. Hi, Adam. That's the baby. He wants to join in. I wonder if Marcelo can translate his emotions that he plays with these minis with into a live game. He might actually succeed there. I think he's got the athleticism. If there's actual battle backs they have to do with, And then there's also the small connections that I was talking about. He played with Jacob way back on 5'9" when Jacob won. So he's got friends on this cast. But Marcelo's downfall has always been if he hears his name going around, it's over. He's coming to find you. He's going room to room in a Sequester Mini, and he's going to tear down that house until he finds who's saying his name. He's got to play smart because he knows how to play these games, but we'll see if he can control his emotions.
So yeah, so it's but do you think he'll be able to?
He needs to because, like you said, this cast is so full of personalities. If you're looking for someone to play under the radar and succeed, it's him. If he recognizes his position in this cast, he can just kind of go under Jacob's wing and get really far in this game. But if he decides that someone saying his name is not going to fly and he's going to throw tables over, that could be the end of his game.
And now, next, moving on now, we have Billy. Billy, I think, is one of her loss. Well, a lot of this cast, I would say, their strengths lie in their strategic game. I would say Billy's biggest strength is going to be her social game, right? Where her strength is not necessarily going to be, Dr. Evil plotting against everyone. She's going to be everyone's best friend, and that I feel like is going to be her biggest strength. What do you think?
Oh yeah, everyone in this cast, I think the social game of Billy's might be the top-notch social game. We've seen her in 2 Sequester minis. She called herself Battleback Billy in the first one because she came back from an early defeat to go all the way to the end. She's just super likable. They really know how to play the hand that's dealt, and she does know when to, break off someone she's tight with. But I actually do fear that because she is so likable, she is so sociable, can she make the cuts that she needs to make? If she aligns with the right people, you could see Billy go very, very far in this game based on her social ability. I'm not sure if that's a winning game, depending on who she ends up with. But she is bound. She's got jury for sure written all over her.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think her best chances, and I kind of agree with you, where she's not going to be the one driving the game, but I think her winning scenario is if she aligns with the people who are driving the game, and I could see her winning either by a bitter jury, or I can also see her, if she makes that final move at the very end where she cuts the person who's driving the game. I think that's her biggest recipe for success. So we'll see. Up next, we're going to talk about Spencer, also from 619, as you previously mentioned, played with Katie. Spencer is a controversial figure in this community, but he brings a element to the game that I think no one else does, and where I think Katie's playing the evil queen, I think Spencer's going to be the player that people love to hate. And I think that can either work against him or work for him in the game. What are your thoughts on Spencer as the end of Sequester Season 4?
I think Spencer really knows how to play these games and play the strategies and play the cards he's dealt. He's going to be looking at Katie to be his ride or die. But because we said Katie has so many different options, she can choose whether that's the right option for her or not. He's kind of on a stranded island here where he is familiar with some people, but he doesn't have too many ties.
Yeah.
His best bet might be to play that under the radar key. Being casted for a TV show, it's so hard to want to do that because they want to be good day TV. They don't want to be boring. And can Spencer choose wisely when it's time to, bring the good drama or when it's time to play the game with his head?
Yeah, I think Spencer's biggest obstacle is going to be getting through the early part of the game. I think if he can survive the first couple rounds, he's going to be in a good spot. But I think he's going to be looked at as the easy name to say, especially in his first couple rounds where no one really wants to make waves or show their cards too much. I think he might be in trouble as the person where everyone can agree on as, well, we're not as connected with him. And obviously he's a very polarizing figure. We'll see whether or not that translates into the actual game itself. But I mean, again, if Spencer can get through those first couple rounds, maybe he can get his footing if he gets enough allies. But I definitely think he's got an uphill battle in front of him.
But the thing about Spencer is once you get to talk to him and meet him, he's a really nice guy, and everyone does get along with him. Mm-hmm. So, if he finds his footing with the right allies, you never know. He could be a dark horse to go far in these games.
Up next, we have Jordan, also known as Jay West, another big personality in these games. I love Jay West. I love watching him play because he brings such energy, he brings such chaos to the game. He is another one of those. He's never going to be afraid. He's very similar to Brent, I would feel like I say. So I'm looking forward to see what his game. What are your thoughts on Jay West?
And Jay West returning from season 3, where he went out very early. So if you want to play that card against him, like, oh, you've played a lot of season before, as a threat level, he didn't play that long, and it's because he's messy, and it's because he's chaotic, and he doesn't give a damn. And somehow, in his one Sequester mini that he didn't have tech issues in, he went pretty far. But every round, I'm going, how is this guy still here? Because he plays so goddamn messy. He's fun to watch. He does have strategy behind there, but for some reason, for a lot of fun reasons, he just wants to have some fun with it, make some friendships, and cut people along the way.
Do you think coming in as the only sequestral live returnee, is that going to put a target on his back, or do you think people are going to be able to overlook that?
I think in a game when you're, especially at the beginning of a game, when you're looking for any reason to throw a name out, it's just an easy reason. Does it make sense? No. Especially because he didn't win, he didn't make jury. So, it doesn't make sense to throw out his name because he's a live returner. But when you got no other options and that's just kind of in your head, why not? The same thing's going to be we're going to talk about Shireen in a second. You're going to say she's played Survivor, and that's going to be a reason to target her. She's going to be pissed off that's the reason, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Sometimes it's because you sneeze too much. Sometimes it's because you wore the wrong pair of pants. Whatever is a reason, it's not me, it's you. That's what we got to do.
But do you think, looking at this cast, do you think Jay West has enough allies in the cast for him to overcome that, potentially that early target on him?
So the reason he can be so crazy and messy is because he is so likable. He's such a fun guy. You just want him around. You want him in the house. You know you're going to have a good time when Jay West is there. So why are we going to get rid of Jay West when we can be partying while we're playing this game?
Right.
So is he connected to anyone, to an extent of some other people? No. But, is he going to make friends with Billy and Muna and Natalie and Brendan? Yes, they're all going to get along with Jay West, and it's just a matter, is he ruining my game or is he helping my game? But Jay West is not going to steer this game. He's not your power player. He's your, chaotic shield above you.
And I think that's kind of going to be Jay West's key to victory here. Is kind of playing up the I'm just here to have fun. I'm not a strategic threat. Align with me. Let's have fun. And I think if he turns it on late and kind of just tries as much as he can to be the fun guy, but stay in the background at the same time a little bit, I think that's going to be his biggest key to victory.
Right.
Up next, you kind of set us up for it, but we have Shireen from Survivor. So Shireen, the only person in this cast from another franchise, which could either put a target on her back, or it could encourage people to want to work with her because maybe they were a fan of her when they watched her on Survivor. Give me your thoughts on Shireen.
I think she's the biggest wild card of this cast. She could be first boot. She could. To be honest, I'd be surprised if she won. But she could go deep in this game. It depends how she plays. I consider. I watched the season with Judd Dougherty, who played Big Brother 15. He makes his appearance in Sequester Live, and to me, he played messy and almost careless because he's like, I played Big Brother. This is Sequester Live. I'm going to play and just have fun with this and get a little messy, bring the TV. I can actually see Shireen going that route, make the big moves, make the messy moves just to have fun with it. And if she gets voted out, the money isn't there like Survivor. The notoriety isn't there like Survivor. I'm sure she's there to just have a good time. Represent, because representation matters, and it really should. So to bring her culture onto the screen is always a win for her. So we'll see how she handles it. I have a feeling she's going to try to stay low-key, but she can only do that for so long before she, flips on somebody for some random reason.
Right, and from what I remember about her Survivor season, Shireen's biggest downfall is that she never knew how to control her emotions. When people were coming after her, it was an instant switch as far as, okay, now I'm coming after you even harder, and I'm going to let you know I'm coming after you. Yeah. There was no tact in Shireen's game. It was the best players in these games are the ones who, in the back of their mind, they know, okay, you're coming after me, but I'm going to smile to your face and tell you exactly what you want to hear. And that's not Shireen's game at all. Shireen's going to go, if you're coming after me, I'm gonna make sure your life is a living hell because of it.
Sounds like I said about Marcelo. It's
Yeah.
Marcelo, but in the female version.
And there's a lot of players in these casts that are, and I would consider put her up there with like the Brents, where I don't know how high their chance of winning the show is, but they're there to make great TV, and I have no doubt that that's what they're going to do.
And even though they're all there to make great TV, they do all bring a strategic mind. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with the twists and the battle backs. And even if we do see as many battle backs as we saw in past Sequester live seasons, we're not really sure where we're going there. Audrey mentioned that she's taking a lot from the things you saw in a mini, so we'll see how that goes.
Up next, we have perhaps the biggest question mark of the entire cast. That is Rachel, and that is simply just because we don't know too much about Rachel. She's only played in one or maybe two Sequester minis. So give me your thoughts about her as she enters this cast. What does she need to do to ingratiate herself when get to the end?
I think Rachel is probably in a really good spot here. She was in the same mini as Jay West. So while Jay West and there were several that cast was loaded with loud, messy characters, and Rachel wasn't afraid or didn't shy away from playing hard as well. She just was lost in the Jay West. If you remember in that mini, there was an Angie who was very loud, and Dustin who ends up winning. So Rachel was there. She was there, and she played hard. And I can see her, having the likability to. Who else did I say? Billy and now Rachel are your slam dunk jury members. Her strategic play will have to come in down the road, just like Billy. Is she going to cut the right person at the right time to make a winning move? Because there are so many big players and big targets in this game, they actually have to do less to get the votes at the end compared to somebody like a Rachel who has to make these visible moves to be recognized. Because if Rachel is sitting at the end with a Shireen could have floated to the end playing an under the radar game because with her name is Shireen, she might gather the wins over a Rachel.
Do you feel like that there's any possibility that Rachel's perceived lack of connections could make her an early target, or do you think people are going to overlook that and go right after some of the bigger names?
So I think it could go either way. I think it's more likely to be a benefit to her to be not connected right now because she's a free agent. Somebody is going to pick her up. I mean, Jay West is probably one of them, considering they have played together.
Yeah.
But whatever that group with Jay West and Rachel is at the beginning, she can decide on there, vote with that group majority, whatever that twist may be for the given round, and not be this easy vote out, the safe vote out. Now she feels if she doesn't socialize, if she is a little outcasted here, you never know. It could be the easy vote, but to my eyes, she's easy to sneak into a group and kind of wiggle her way down the road.
Up next, we're going to talk about Jacob here, two-time winner, one of the best players in Sequester history for sure. What are your thoughts on Jacob as he enters the live version of Season 4?
It'll be interesting to see what Jacob can do live. Kind of like Katie, I consider Jacob one of the best players ever, and he has a reputation to uphold, and he feels it. I can tell he feels it just because he hasn't played a mini since then, and he played one, and it was Shadows, and he played the second half of that game and went out quick. And he went out quick just like he expected. It bummed him out, but he expects every time he steps foot into a Sequester game, he's not going to go far because he is that first ever two-time winner. That being said, he knows how to play the game. Everybody on this cast is in love with Jacob the second they meet him and talk to him. He's sociable. He's strategic. If there are live battle backs, which I expect there will be, he's going to hold his own there. So if he can gather some power, he's already got some people on his side. He's going to do well. I mean, it's a matter of will the right people cut him at the right time?
Yes.
But I can't see him being out early because he's a big threat. No. Too many big threats, and he's too well liked by everyone. He's another one of those people that almost comes across as everybody's number one when you really don't know who he considers his number one.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. I do think Jacob's got a really good shot to win the game here. Kind of like you mentioned, he is a big target coming into the game, but I don't think he's a big enough target to go out early. I think he's well connected. People like him. They're going to want to play with him. And I think as the game continues to go on, you're going to see some of the bigger personalities make themselves targets. And I think he could slide his way all to the end. And then, like you said, are the people at the end going to be smart enough to realize that he's playing a good game and cut him? So I do like Jacob's chances, and I think his best key to victory is really playing the same game that he did in the sequester minis, but maybe taking more of an aggressive towards the end. Whereas in his past minis, I felt like other people were taking him to the end. He's got to make the moves at the end to get himself to the end.
And because everybody thinks that they're his number one, he has to make some hard decisions here. When does he cut Marcelo? Marcelo thinks they're tight. When does he cut Muna? Muna's going to think they're tight. Billy, you can keep going. Everyone thinks they're tight with Jacob, but Jacob's got to cut them first before they cut him.
Up next, we're going to talk about Josh here. Josh, another one of those players where I feel like is definitely one of the more under the radar personalities. Not one of the most known members of the cast. Give me your thoughts on Josh.
Yeah, Josh has played a few minis here, and he's known for making moves, making loud moves. And we've been upset in the past when we've watched Sequester, specifically minis, about people not taking shots at the big target. Well, Josh is coming in to take shots at the big target. He's not scared. He's going to make a move to do what's best for his game, and he's not going to just sit back and let people fly by. It could be a detriment to his game because if you take that shot at the wrong time and the numbers aren't there to do it, you're out the door. I mean, Josh has a possibility to be a first boot because he is loud and not as connected. Loud and not connected is not good. Rachel can reel it in and play her loudness when she needs to.
I think Josh's biggest detriment in coming into the game is that, like you were saying, he's not as connected. But what do people know about him? They kind of know him just as a game bot, where he's there to play an aggressive strategic game, which is great as a viewer. But if that's all you're coming in as, and you don't have the allies, again, I could see that hurting him. But if he is able to, depending on how the season goes, if the big personalities go out early, that's going to be better for him because he's going to be able to slide through a little bit, and then be able, once the numbers dwindle, people are going to need him to advance their games. And if they continue to bring him along, that's where Josh can find his way in the end.
And I'd also assume they jumped into this house not knowing who was on the cast with them. They walked in the door and they were shocked to see who was lined up in 13 in a row. And they didn't have a chance to do research on Josh. So just because he played his past games pretty erratically, he never got too far where he made a name for himself so far. And so they might not even know what kind of player he is, which might be nice for him because he can play any kind of game he wants, and they don't have to necessarily accuse him of being a certain way because of his past games.
For sure. Up next, we have Brendan. Brendan, a big name in the community here. Tell me what you like about his game and what do you think he needs to do to get to the end.
Brendan is a really smart, strategic player. He won one of the first ever private minis when he was a Rob Had a Podcast Patreon mini. He was a target in round one of that. He played from the bottom, and he's just shown as the months have gone on that he knows how to navigate these games. His brother Alex Brazard knows how to navigate these games, and then so for Brendan, it comes down to again, he's one of those. Can he continue to speak strategically and not emotionally? Because he can let the emotions get to him, and as he gets angry or betrayed, he starts making irrational moves. Because what I can see happening is he trusts somebody, the trust is broken, and then he breaks that off forever, and then he's got nowhere to turn. So he becomes on an island, and then he's in trouble. If he can have trust broken with someone and bounce back from it, and live to see another day, it's another one that your dark horse pick to win this game.
Is there anyone else in the cast? You had mentioned earlier that Brendan's brother is Alex Brazard, who's obviously a great fan of Katie, so you assume that those two are going to work together in some capacity. Is there anyone else in this cast that you look at and you go, that's a slam dunk or someone Brendan will work with?
Not quite anyone other than Katie being the most obvious connection there. He has relationships with a lot of them, though, because he stays involved in the community. He's been around. He's played multiple games here. He was in an all-star mini. So he's played for this and that and had connections with other ones. Katie seems the most obvious choice for me to want to connect to. But just like I've been talking about with Jacob, I'm sure Brendan thinks he's good with Jacob. I'm sure Brendan thinks he's good with Spencer and Marcelo and down the list. And so he has to build alliances more than other people.
Yeah.
But he has the social ability to build. I will say this about Brendan. There was one ever episode of the dating game that Audrey put on for Sequester, when Mary Payton was the woman they desired, and the two guys on that show were Brendan and Marcelo fighting over her, and they actually butt heads on that one show.
Really?
So Marcelo and Brendan have a little history. They do not get along.
Here's for hoping that Mary Payton makes a cameo in Sequester season 4.
Yeah, we'll be on.
I think that would be fun.
She can run some challenges.
Yes. And up next, perhaps the biggest name in the community, Muna, who is widely regarded as one of, if not the best player in the entire community. Another 2-time winner. She is coming in here with.
She's only won once.
She's only won once.
Yeah.
She won one.
She got to the end of Shadows.
Well, she deserves to be a 2-time.
Yeah, but Shireen.
Yes. But regardless, Muna, one of the biggest names in the entire community. Tell me what you think Muna has to do to get her way to the end, and what do you think about her chances?
Yeah, I kind of Muna has got really good chances because she is the triple threat. Oh, like we said about Katie, where she was like meant for TV. I mean, Muna is built for TV. I know she should be. She's applying to like Big Brother Canada, and she should be casted on these shows. She was a no-brainer to put on the show. She's a triple threat because her social game is. I mean, I said it about Billy, but Muna's got Billy. Sorry, Billy, but Muna's got you on the social game. She's like a slam dunk jury. It's just a matter of does she make the right moves at the right time to position herself to win this game. She's actually someone who does not need to think about who am I sitting next to at the end because she's going to beat them all. If she gets there, they allow her to get to the end. She can beat them all. She can out-talk them all, and she can outplay them all. Her strategy is top-notch. You've seen it in her All-Star games. Here's Villains, where it was Sharif and Jalen was Albie and Muna.
Yeah.
They almost pulled that off. And then she came back for that like fanfare one with the former Big Brother players. And she went at it with like Natalie and Kat and really helped her on there too.
Well, so let me ask you this though. So we talked about there's a lot of big names within this cast, but as we just mentioned, Muna perhaps one of the biggest names in this cast, and everyone likes Muna. There's not a person in this cast who doesn't know Muna's reputation of being one of the best players in the game. Do you think people were going to look at that and make her an easy target because they know she's such a good player?
You know what's mind-boggling here? It's like the Josh Muna dynamics, right? Josh wants to get out Muna. We've got to get out Muna because Muna is Muna.
Yeah.
Yet everyone, whether you want to admit to it or not, and as messy and TV ready you are you ready to take out Muna? And everyone is scared to do so because you get one shot, and if you miss, you and all your allies are done. So you take that shot, and you better not miss. So you have to time it right, and it's a scary proposition. I'd be shocked if she was out for jury. But hey,
anything can happen. And then finally, with one more person to talk about, we're going to talk about Natalie here. Natalie, again, I think is one of the most under-the-radar players in the entire cast, which could work to her benefit or her detriment. What do you think about Natalie's game?
Natalie, we played together each other in a private meeting once, and the best way to describe her game is she'll kill you with kindness, but she'll kill you because she's ready to make moves. She's strategic. She knows when to hold them and fold them, and she just smiles at you, and you think you guys are best friends. So that could work to her in a cast with such big personalities. She kind of falls in that Rachel boat. She can align herself with the correct people, and she can wiggle her way down into jury, and who knows, deep into this game, another wild card. The question there is, once you are, let's say she gets to that 5-6 people left, she's an easy cut, possibly, just because, other people will have tighter alliances, in my opinion, than Natalie. Natalie just seems as someone as you will take as far as you can, but they never feel too hurt by just letting her go at the right time. I would love to see Natalie change her game for the big show, right? Because on minis, she can kill her with kindness in those 5-minute work periods. But when the time comes to a week in a house, like, hey, let's play a little rap game. Let's call people out. Let's make big moves. And if she can do that even under the radar, kind of like not so visible, but leading the charge, and then explain herself at the end, you never know.
Yeah, I think Natalie's got a good chance if she's able to, again, like I've said before, if she's able to get through those early rounds, because she could potentially be an easy vote, does have a good chance to navigate her way to the end. Because I don't think gaining allies is going to be a problem for her because she is so likable. I specifically see her working with Katie. I think a lot of the women are going to work together. So I think that could work to her advantage, and I think she might be a dark horse to actually win it all if she can escape those early rounds. But overall, it is a great cast. Before we get into our winner picks, I want to talk to you about all these players who obviously played in Sequester Minis, which obviously are very fast-paced, as you guys know. I want to get your thoughts on who do you think from this cast is going to have the toughest time adjusting from the mini version to a live version where you're in person and you're living in a house together for a week. There is no 30 seconds, hi, bye, I gotta keep moving around to make sure people are talking about me. It's a much different game, the live version.
For sure.
So who's gonna have the biggest time or the hardest time adjusting?
So I would say it's the people that have solely played minis. There's a handful of these people that have played Hordes before, long form games. Spencer has played a handful of long form games and won them.
Yeah.
So he's had that like ability. Hey, how do you act? How do you react and act when you have a night to sleep on some decisions, or a couple hours to sleep on some decisions, and not a couple minutes? So I look at these people that, such as Natalie, Katie, Marcelo. Though Marcelo has played a long form game, but people that are pure mini form to like, all right, you don't have to make these quick decisions. You do have a second or two to rethink it. You know, you have an hour maybe before you have to make a decision in a 7-day game. So, and then you have a couple nights of sleep on some of these decisions.
Yeah.
So these people that are pure mini players to this point, even though they're probably just as big as Survivor and Big Brother fans as we are, it's one thing to watch the shows and it's another thing to play them.
Right.
So I lean toward that's what could get Katie in trouble. She wants to make those quick decisions like you have to do in a mini, and quick decisions don't need to be done right now.
Yeah, and I think the people that are going to benefit most in these live versions are the people with a really good social names, right? Because that's what this game is. It's being able to take the people who go far are the people who can take people out of the game, and not by physically out, but like take them mentally out of the game. Just how can you make a connection based off small talk, based about talking about your family. If you're going to go in and you guns blazing and just be a game bot, that's where you're going to find yourself in trouble because it's a long time there. Granted, it's only a week, but a week can feel like forever when there's nothing to do except plot against each other.
And you know what a good comparison would be? If you hear your name in a mini and you can stay calm through the round and just keep it cool, that could translate really well to a long form game.
Yes.
Where things are happening, but you're able to just take it all in and not make a bold decision, quick decision, stay calm, think about it, and then make the right decisions.
Right. All right, so now let's go into, before we get to our winner picks here, we want to do a quick little game here where we're going to play locks for pre-jury, jury, and then we'll announce our winner picks here. So I'll start with you, Andrew. Give me a lock for who you think is 100% going out pre-jury.
Oh, this is hard to do to somebody, but this is the game. You signed up to be on TV and you signed up to be criticized. So here we are, we're criticizing you. No, who knows? I honestly think all 13 could go pre-jury, jury, and win. But if I had to pick one that sticks out as a possible or no doubt pre-jury, I'm sadly going to go with Josh here. Just for the fact that he is so willing to take out big targets in a game full of big targets. He's willing to be loud when he needs to, and he's not quite connected like he needs to be.
I'm going to actually go with Spencer on this one here. And I like Spencer a lot, and I think he is a good player, but I think in this game, he's coming in as one of the least connected people, and I think especially early in this game, I think people are going to be wanting to keep bigger targets around, and I don't see him as one of the bigger targets. I think he's going to be one of those names that it's going to be easier to get people on board to throw votes on, because I don't think he's necessarily going to have a ton of people fighting for it. Now let's move on to who you think is guaranteed to get into at least a jury.
I actually got a handful of these, but if I'm gonna give you like not the easy answer, right? Because there's some that we might even pick for winner. I'm gonna say Rachel. I think Rachel is a slam dunk jury vote. Jury. She's gonna make jury. We'll see how deep she goes in the jury, but I can't see her going out early because yes, Josh was not just like Josh is not connected. Just like Josh she's not afraid to get loud, but I think she's not there to target the big players. She's going to target the right person. She's going to be willing to fly with the majority. She's going to have friends with the Jay West, the Billies, and she's going to find her lines, and she'll be maybe the quietest person on the whole cast, which isn't saying much because everyone's going to be loud, but she'll find her way to jury in my book. You heard it here first.
And then for my pick, I think most likely to get jury is actually going to be Katie. I think Katie is a phenomenal player. She's great for TV. She's going to be there a while, but I don't see people taking her to the end because of her reputation. I do think she'll be able to get enough allies, at least initially, for people who want to work with her, kind of use her as a shield. I definitely think she gets past the pre-jury phase, but I think after a while, once the numbers start to dwindle and Katie's still there and you know what she's up to, I think it's going to be very easy for people to eventually cover.
See, I think with Katie, she falls in this category, like maybe with a Brendan and a couple others that they're either going real deep, like top three, or they're out pre-jury, right? Brendan and Katie are like, can they control their emotions? Can Katie not play up her, don't come after me because I'll come after you, and just like be hi friends.
Right.
We need more hi friends.
And then lastly, we're going to make our winner picks. So a lot of great players on this cast, but if you had to pick one person that you think is going to come out on top, who is your winner pick for Sequester Live Season 4?
It's crazy. With a group of 13 people, I think 94% of us all have the same winner pick. And 94% of us are probably going to be wrong. But that's what everyone's picking. It seems a little obvious, and so it's probably not true, but it's hard to go against Muna. She's got everything that you look for in a winner. Audrey would love to crown Muna this champion because of everything she does for this community, everything she's been for this community, and the way she plays every time she steps onto a Sequester game. I'd be shocked if she wasn't in your final five. And I would not be surprised if she takes the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think Muna's a great pick here. For the sake of being different, I'm going to go with somebody else. And I think, similar to Muna, I think my winner pick could be Jacob again.
Yeah.
I think he is coming in very connected. He's a very good player, but he also knows how to be more reserved and how to play the game without putting a target on his back, well, more so than it already is. So I wouldn't be surprised if those are your final two.
I think like the second the cast was announced, we would have said Jacob Muna 4-3. Who gets the 4, who gets the 3, we'll find out. But it's a Jacob Muna final 2, and I'm looking forward to watching it unfold and proving us wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for listening to us Nobodies talk about this Sequester game. We're very much looking forward to it. Again, you can catch the premiere episode Sunday, November 29th at 9 p.m. Definitely going to be an exciting season. I know we're looking forward to it. The entire community is looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will hopefully be talking to you very soon. Andrew, where can they find you on Twitter if they want to talk to you, or anywhere on social media if they want to keep up with you and talk Sequester, because I know you love the talk.
Yeah, please grill all my thing, everything I said. A Marcus 515. I can take the heat.
Yeah.
I said what I said, and I love you no matter what.
And then you can find me on Twitter at JSpeedMarcus. Hit us up. Let's talk about Sequester. Tell us where we're wrong, because we're going to be wrong, but we might also be right. We might surprise you. So thank you guys so much for listening, and hopefully we will see you guys soon.
Deuces.
Some